Members, this meeting of the House Government Operations Committee for March 17, 2025 will come to order. Clerk, please take the roll. Has everybody that's here checked in? Representative Hardway. There you go. Thank you. Members, I'm sorry, Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, there are 13 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you for that. Members, before we get started, are there any personal orders? Chairman Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize for last week. I need to introduce my intern to the committee, Elizabeth Sperling, Belmont student, economics major. Stand up and let us thank you for working with not only me, but with this committee. Let's make her welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. Anyone else? You're recognized, Representative Clements.
Mr. Chairman, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the fact that Tennessee has no less than 4 teams in the NCAA tournament.
How about that?
4. So let's give a shout out to Memphis Tigers, right, GA? David Lipscomb University, Vanderbilt University, and University of Tennessee at Knoxville.
Go Big Orange. Thank you for that recognition, sir. All right, anybody else? Oh, that's good. We ended on a high note there. All right, wonderful. Members, we've got 12 items on the calendar today. Most of these bills are before us for review purposes. We also have 4 sunset bills. I'm going to roll item number 3. That's mine. Put that in place behind item number 8. So that way we don't have to move gavels around quite as much. Let's see. First up on our calendar, we've got House Bill 106, and I believe Representative Hale is going to be presenting that bill. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Representative, you are recognized when ready.
Thank you, Committee and Chair. House Bill 106, this legislation updates the list of eligible child care facilities that are exempt from DCHS licensure. The previous statute was outdated, disorganized, leading to confusion for both consumers and providers. This legislation will allow department policies to accurately capture the unique and dynamic landscape of the child care space. Basically, to sum it up, this is less government, more transparency. The amendment that was added to this in the process just basically clarifies that homeschools are not included in this.
And we appreciate that explanation. Members, do we have any questions? Representative Hardaway, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning to you, Chairman. Is there anything in here that deals with the actual facilities themselves? And I ask that because I had the occurrence of speaking with someone that says that some of the child care requirements are such that some of our facilities in Memphis Shelby County schools would not qualify. So I'm trying to figure out, are we rearranging anything there to have some type of connection where if it's good enough for day-to-day students, that it would also be good enough for childcare?
You're recognized.
This bill doesn't do anything for that, Representative Hardaway. This is to help basically YMCA sports teams. That's probably more of a question for directly for the department. This is totally separate from the facilities. This is just cleaning up those areas in the statute.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Representative Renaud, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple of questions. Thank you for the amendment that extracted the homeschool, because I did get a lot of emails about that. One of the questions that I have remaining on this is that I understand that this exemption well, let me ask this. The exemption says that if they have children for more than 3 hours per day, but not more than 15 hours, the exemption would apply to them at that point. But my question is, what if someone, for example, has an ACT class for 4 hours and might have five students in it? Does that mean that they would not be able to apply for the exemption?
You're recognized.
I'm not 100% sure on that, Representative. We do have the department here. I think that's actually because of the homeschoolers being exempt, I think that's actually something totally separate, Representative Renault. If we could get the department to come up and to Ms. Callan and them are here.
We can do that. Members, we're going to gavel out of session for just a few minutes. Take a few questions to the department. All right, we're out of session. Ladies, I think you know how the process works. Please introduce yourself and who you're with.
Good morning. I'm Callan Baggett, Assistant Commissioner for External Affairs for the Department of Human Services. And Representative Renaud, to your question, the way that the amendment is drafted that was provided to us by the Homeschoolers Association, they are not regulated by the department, so
Right.
they would not need to seek an exemption from the department.
Representative Renaud, you're recognized.
But if someone that is not regulated department, like for example, someone who does tutoring or who does an ACT prep class, and their prep class is on a Saturday or even during the week for 4 hours, are they going to have to get a license to do that?
They would not. So the amendment also clarifies that homeschool tutorials also fall within that. So they are not regulated by the department.
Representative Renaud.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. And another question is another concern rather is that one of the things mentioned in the bill is that the dates, times for the children's attendance has to be made available. And one of the questions or concerns that my constituents have brought up who operate in this space is that potentially because the language is not clear that these things would only have to be done in an emergency situation to know where the parents are, that then the department or even an inspector could require these things be reported on a weekly basis rather than as needed. Is there any way to clarify that in this? I just would be afraid that in the future it becomes a burden for someone who is licensed by them to have to provide this on a regular basis versus in an emergency, which I understand is the intent of that, of requiring that information to be collected.
You're recognized.
Yes. So right now, there is a reporting requirement, but there's no time as it has to be sent in whenever. Typically, DHS facilities that are licensed by us are inspected quarterly for that sort of information. So we do not see that it would be an issue, but happy to talk to you after a committee about that as well.
Follow up.
I do have other questions, but I will address them with you on committee. I think those are the two big concerns that were brought up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Members, any other questions? All right, let's get back to business. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate you. We are back in session. Any further questions for the sponsor? Seeing none. Members, looks like we are ready to vote. All those in favor of positive recommendation? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get this right one week. All right, we're on the board, members. Please cast your vote. Everybody voted? Anybody wishing to change their vote? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 13 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you for that. Next stop, we're heading out to calendar and rules. Yes, sir. Thank you. Next up, we have Leader Lamberth, item number 2, House Bill 1376. Wow, we have rolled right through. I'm going to get you to slow your roll for just a second. Thank you. Leader Lamberth, would you please explain?
Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. And I do appreciate the chairman's zeal, though, moving along. So I will keep this short as well. I mean, this is a regulatory framework for hemp-derived products to be able to be sold as they are now in retail establishments, but not in grocery stores or convenience stores. They would only be sold in liquor stores or hemp establishments. And so they would be licensed as such. They will be able to sell pretty much what they're selling now, but it will be regulated by the ABC because that is who regulates retail establishments that sell intoxicating substances. So there are a vast number of other issues in this bill that we address, but that's the gist of the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions from the members? Let's see, we got Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was wondering if the ABC was here and could answer a question in the scope of this committee.
Chairman, we do not have the ABC on the list today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I continue to have concerns about the ABC taking over the Department of Agriculture's role in regulating the manufacture of hemp products. So that was going to be the substance of my question, and the sponsors free to answer that to the extent he would like. I understand the role they play with regards to alcohol and liquor and enforcement at the retail side, but the manufacturer side it seems to be wholly within agriculture's jurisdiction. So I have concerns about that. If the sponsor would address those, thanks.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
So the ABC actually used to handle all cannabis related matters. We as the legislature actually took that out of their hands several years ago. And the bulk of this would be the wholesale and retail aspects of it is what they would be regulating. So ag is keeping the regulation for the most part of the growth of these products, the literal growth of them. ABC, and quite frankly, I carried the bill 2 years ago that put this in ag. And in this very committee a few months ago, we had a very spirited back and forth on how that has gone. And ag's done as good a job as they possibly could on taking on this responsibility. But there's 555 either licensed or pending licenses for hemp stores in Nashville right now. That's just simply not what ag does. Where ABC is used to that level of regulatory authority and being able to do inspections to make sure folks are actually carding people, that they're selling products that they're supposed to be selling, not something they're not. They're very good at that type of regulation, and they've proven that to us over the years. So it's the retail aspect of this is just not what ag normally does.
Chairman Clemens, you have a follow-up?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you. That's my big concern with this at this moment.
Thank you. Representative McKenzie, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just you, as you said, there are several other things, I guess, that this bill does. So, what does this bill do with regard to THCA?
Leader Lamberth?
So the original bill would have banned the sale of THCA. The Commerce Committee took that provision out. So it still allows the sale of that substance, but it would be within the regulatory framework that we just discussed.
Representative McKenzie?
Thank you, and thank you for that. I'm glad that amendment is riding with this bill. This is something that I definitely can get behind in terms of regulating it in a consistent fashion. My last question is in terms of cost. Are we going to? Is the vision, and you may not know that, probably come out as they promulgate the rules, but is it your vision that we'll have hemp only ABC staff and then liquor only staff, or are there going to be some kind of cross pollination of those two functions?
Leader Lamberth?
And I do think that is something that is when they get the rules and send them back to us, that is something we can look at. But what they envision is that for the hemp retailers, the ones that are actually selling hemp or wholesaling hemp, which we allow for the vertical integration. So I mean, you can be a grower, a wholesaler, and a retailer. That is permitted. But the hemp staff at ABC would be, for the most part, assigned to the hemp regulation. Now, there will be liquor stores that are allowed to sell these products, and you may get some crossover in the regulatory authority there because they will be selling both products. And so you may have some of those inspectors that are cross-trained to be able to handle both.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Members, any further questions? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, open the vote. Thank you. Has every member voted? Anyone wishing to change their vote? Seeing none. All right. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 13 ayes and 1 no.
All right, thank you for that. The bill passes. Next up, Finance, Ways and Means. Thank you, sir. Next up, we're going to skip to item number 4. House Bill 357 by Chairman Powers. We have a motion to second. Chairman, you're recognized when you're ready.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 357 enacts the Rescue Squad Recognition Act. Prohibits a municipality, county, political subdivision, or nonprofit from operating a rescue squad unless it has been duly recognized and authorized to perform rescue operations in conformity with this bill by the State Fire Marshal's Office. The State Fire Marshal, in consultation with the Tennessee Association of Rescue Squads and other stakeholders, must promulgate rules relative to the standards and qualifications for becoming and remaining a rescue squad. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you for that explanation. And I noticed you're reading off your notes there. Could you give us a little background? What brought this about? Are there liability issues here? Are there oversight issues? Both?
Sure, a little bit of both. One thing that's been happening, some of the pop-up rescue squads across the state. One example that they gave me were a place in West Tennessee that had 2 men in a boat, not 2 men in a truck, but 2 men in a boat, and they operated as a rescue squad. So they were wanting some minimum guidelines, minimum requirements to actually be a rescue squad. They have 11 different rescue squad type regulations or qualifications, really, and they only had to meet 4 of those, 4 out of the 11, to actually be part of this bill. So they just want some minimum guidelines and for the rescue squads across the state.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, it looks like we're ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, if you would, set us up for the vote. Has every member voted? Anybody wishing to change a vote? All right, it looks like you're good to go. Next up, I'm sorry. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 13 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you, sir. And next up, Finance, Ways and Means. Next on our list, we've got item number 5 by Representative Martin of Hamilton. Oh, I'm sorry. Item 6. I skipped earlier. All right. Yes, sir. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm sorry. We need a motion in a second, please. We have a motion in a second. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is pertaining to House Bill 1084, and there's an amendment traveling from the subcommittee. The drafting code is 4446. Thank you, committee and chairman. This bill would begin a limited grant program to reimburse LEAs and charter schools, private schools, and first responders for purchasing anti-choking devices. The Department of Health will promulgate the rules pertaining to eligible devices for reimbursement and would administer the program. And the amendment would ensure that the department has the resources to administer the program. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir, for that explanation. Members, do we have any questions? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, would you set the board for us? Thank you for that. Has every member voted? And does anyone wish to change a vote? All right, Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 12 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you for that count, sir. Next stop, Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Yes, sir. We're going to back up to item 5 for Chairman Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry to be late.
Not a problem. Can we get a motion? Motion. We have motion and you have second. You are recognized, sir.
Yeah, House Bill 66 came to me from Laverne Mayor Jason Cole and Bruce Richardson, the town administrator. What this bill seeks to do is keep residential information on municipal employees private, much like state employees currently are private.
Thank you for that explanation. Members, do we have any questions? Representative Renaud, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, will the Register of Deeds or whoever these records have to be redacted by, will they have to go back and redact previous records for every employee?
My understanding, they don't. Deborah Fisher, I don't know if she's in the audience. She's kind of I looked at her as the subject matter witness on this. She's reached out to my mayor because she's seen this and she had some concerns. I don't believe it will, ma'am.
Follow up?
Will they receive a list of employees that they need to go back and redact this information for?
I'm not sure. Representative Renaud, maybe legal could chime in on that.
You want me to go out of session? Or-
If-
You do. Okay. We will go out of session then real quick. If you want to restate your question for legal, please.
Sure, Leo. Will the departments that have to redact this information, will they receive a list of who they have to redact that information for?
Mark Doby's Office of Legal Services. As far as I can tell, just off the text of the bill, I don't see anything pertaining to that directly. It's not addressed in the text itself.
Does that help?
I guess it's as good as the answer as we'll get. I do have one more question for the sponsor.
For the sponsor, all right. We'll go back in session. And you're recognized.
And I don't know if this is maybe this is a question for the sponsor or not, but are the rules, will they be promulgated for them to come before the government on this issue on, who has to do what and who will provide the information to the municipalities and so forth?
No.
You're recognized.
Simply, this is just going to line up with how state employees' information is now. Now, our information as lawmakers will be out there, but state employees will not. Or are
Follow
not
up?
existing.
Yeah, this will just be my last statement. This was a concern brought up to me by our Register of Deeds that while there's no fiscal impact, it could create potentially a lot of work for them. So just trying to understand where what exactly they'd be required to do and to what level. Thank you.
Chairman Clements, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Still trying to figure out how this got to government operations, but was this a public safety concern that your mayor expressed, or
No,
what was the impetus?
You're recognized.
I believe my understanding is employees, I guess it was solicitations and areas like that. And I don't know if it's the exact employee. He didn't mention the employee, but he brought it up to us at our annual meeting with our local mayors.
Chairman Clements, follow up.
That's all. Just trying to get to the intent. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Members, any further questions? Seeing none, looks like we are. Oh, sorry. Representative Hardaway, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. I didn't have a question until they had a question
Okay.
about the deeds, the Register of Deeds, trustee, assessor. So they will have to do some type of redaction on records.
You're recognized.
I just spoke to my Register of Deeds of the day. She didn't bring it to my attention. And I also spoke to my property assessor the other day. He never mentioned it. I don't mind rolling this bill. I'm not in a hurry. If y'all want me to get some more information on that, that's fine.
I'm sorry, just
defer
one
back,
second.
Mr.
Representative
Chairman.
Hardaway, have you concluded?
Yeah, I'll defer back to Renaud, Rep. Renaud.
All right, Representative Renaud.
If you wouldn't mind rolling it, I would appreciate it because I think there are a lot more open-ended issues on this that it would be good to get clarification
I don't
on
mind.
before we move forward.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
All right.
I'll give you later. Thank
We'll
y'all.
let you two. How long would you like to roll this bill?
Just
Sponsor.
a week. Is that okay?
Without objection, we'll roll it 1 week.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Next up. Item number 7, House Bill 431. We have a motion and a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee. This bill is the CEO Pay Disparity Act, would discourage corporations from paying starvation wages supplemented by government assistance programs. When big corporations have huge disparities in pay between workers and the CEO, it is Tennessee taxpayers who pay for their health and food assistance for their workers. And so we are subsidizing some of the biggest and most profitable corporations in the history of our nation, and it'll be completely unnecessary if these companies respected their workers and paid a living wage. And so what this bill would do, it would implement a meager 0.1% increase in the excise tax. And according to the fiscal note from our fiscal review team, it would increase the revenue in Tennessee's general fund for fiscal year 25 to 26 by 3.1 million. And for fiscal year 26 to 27 plus subsequent years, it would increase it by $7.9 million. And so how did we get here today? The CEO Pay Disparity Act tax is looking to reform a broken tax system here in our state by ensuring that the large successful corporations either pay their workers or pay a fair share of taxes. According to a 2020 report entitled Millions of Full-Time Workers Rely on Federal Healthcare and Food Assistance Programs, it found that 5.7 million Medicaid enrollees and 4.7 million SNAP recipients who worked full-time for 50 or more weeks in 2018 earned so low that they qualified for federal assistance programs. Researchers sent these questionnaires to state Medicaid and SNAP agencies and analyzed data from 15 state agencies, including Tennessee. Each agency reported the 25 most common employers of Medicaid enrollees and SNAP recipients. Among these 15 agencies, where Walmart was in the top 4 of employers of program beneficiaries in each and every year. And so, we know that Tennesseans on both sides of the aisle are appalled by the extreme disparity between CEO and worker pay. Wealthy corporate executives keep doing better no matter what, while working families in Tennessee who help produce these profits and pay their fair share of taxes are struggling to afford health care, pay rent, and put food on the table. The other thing I just want to say is this is looking to bring both conservative and more progressive people together, because I don't think any of us want our citizens to be dependent on social safety net programs, on government assistance. And so this is to say that if a company CEO makes more than 100 times the average worker, then there'll be this increase in excise of 0.1%. And so what does that look like? If we look at a company, for example, like McDonald's. Or actually, let's start with Dollar General. So Dollar General CEO Jeff Owen made almost $13 million, while his employees made on average $18,000, meaning that if 2 full-time employees worked there, they would barely be above the poverty line. In Nashville, while Nashville healthcare CEOs raked in millions in stock option bonuses and other perks, their employees struggled under a healthcare system where low-wage workers remain underinsured, underdiagnosed, and undertreated. Healthcare costs have skyrocketed alongside medical bankruptcy, and the biggest beneficiary of this corporate wealth transfer are the CEOs at the top. We're not telling any corporation how much they should pay their top executives, but what this legislation is saying is that if their company will not pay their workers a living wage, a wage in which they can survive, then we won't continue to take on the burden as taxpayers that will fill in the gap when their workers have to rely on government assistance programs. And so this is incentivizing companies to not continue to contribute to wealth disparity in Tennessee. And so, again, I thank you all. I'm happy to answer any questions about this bill. My last data I'll give you is that today a cashier in Walmart in Nashville would have to work more than 823 years to earn what the company's CEO, Doug McMillon, was paid last year. Similarly, a crew team member at McDonald's in Nashville would have to work 865 years to earn what the company paid its CEO, Chris Kemzemski, in 2021. My friends on this committee, I want to just give you these words from President Roosevelt, that he said, the test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. And so with that, I submit the bill, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that explanation. We've got some questions. Representative McKenzie, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for this bill. Although, as you said, this doesn't touch on it. The fact, we're one of the few countries that pay our CEOs and C-suite folks a hugely disproportionate amount than it does the regular employees. But my question is on the revenues. Is it your intention to go to direct these funds toward the working class people, or just have it go into general coffers for you? So is there an aim for what we will do with these funds?
You're recognized.
Thank you. And so, yeah, this fiscal note coming from the fiscal team Again, 3.1 million for fiscal year 25 to 26 and 7.9 million fiscal year 26 to 27 and every subsequent year. And so what this is looking to do is trying to look up, it's going to go to the general fund because we're using taxpayer money to subsidize these corporations now. So it'll go to the general fund. But obviously, it is our hope that in a time where we're hearing about cuts to social safety net programs, and we're hearing this talk about that we need to look at efficiency and cut these programs, hopefully this money would go and fill that gap and help to contribute to maintaining these safety nets for Tennesseans who are having to rely on these programs because of the extreme wealth inequality we're seeing from these corporations.
Representative McKenzie, follow up?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the bill.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Members, let's see, we got Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, sponsor, for the bill. So if we're reducing this to just layman's talk, we'll take folks out of situations where they're literally having to work and it's not even a wash for them to be able to maintain basic survival needs, but they're actually going into the hole and being pulled out of that hole by state dollars. Is that an accurate way to state it?
You're recognized.
Thank you. And that is, these are some of the hardest working people who live in my district and all of your districts who work at the Dollar General, who work at the McDonald's, who work at the gas station, who are working full-time jobs for starvation wages. And so this is about looking at the fact that we have people in the state who are working full-time and who still have to rely on government assistance because they're not making, salaries that uplift human dignity while CEOs make exorbitant amounts that is immoral. And so this is about filling the gap and trying to incentivize these corporations from making so that taxpayers in Tennessee have to keep filling the gap when their corporations refuse to give them the benefits that they deserve and the salaries they deserve, and then taxpayers get footed with the bill. And so this is trying to disincentivize these corporations from maintaining such an unequal system of wealth inequality.
And
follow up?
With this, and I didn't see it noted in the fiscal note, would this have that multiplier effect when they spend in the economy, the taxes that are collected off of food, which is a shame, but off of other necessary essentials. So we've got revenue that would be generated by that tax revenue that would be generated on those purchases and services that they'll be in need of.
Yeah,
recognized.
Thank you so much. The fiscal note did not reflect that, but that's exactly correct. Is that when people have more income where they don't have to choose between getting their prescriptions or getting their groceries, they can make more discretionary purchases, and that will contribute to our economy in Tennessee. And so, so many folks we talk to in Tennessee are struggling in this economy right now. They're not seeing the wealth that these corporations, top executives are seeing. They're not seeing that trickle down to them at the bottom. And so, people are having to decide, can they afford to get their children, new clothes for school? Or do they have to look at, worrying about having food on the table? These are real conversations Tennesseans are having right now. And hopefully if we disincentivize this, if we pay them for their work that they're doing, then maybe, we'll see a rising tide lifts all ships, as they say. And so our economy will benefit from it.
And Mr. Chairman, just a wind-up statement.
Yes, sir.
What we don't see quantified here is how having that increase to just a basic quality of life to where parents and families can be self-sufficient, it has an impact on the child and academic outcomes. Fewer ACEs, more A's and B's would be the simplest way to put it. Our children turn out better, both in terms of quality for their socioeconomic needs, but also in terms of academic outcome. I'd like to see that reflected in the fiscal note, just a message for fiscal review. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Question on the bill.
We have a question called. Any objections? We have an objection. We have two objections. Would you mind withdrawing that for now? Thank you for that. Representative Parkinson, you're recognized. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, sir. I want to get to where my colleagues are. So when we're under this legislation, are we taxing that CEO's income or at that 0.1%? And
you're recognized.
Thank you. No, so this would be taxing the corporations on their excise tax here by an increase of 0.1%.
Check. Okay.
Follow up.
Thank you, sir. And then that taxed business tax that we tax, the amount would go to the general fund, right?
Correct.
Correct. Now,
please.
Okay. And when it goes to the general fund, it's not directed anywhere else out at this point outside of the general fund. Am I correct?
You're recognized.
Thank you. No, right under this bill to go to the general fund. And hopefully we then as a body would use these increased funds of millions of dollars to then direct it toward these working class communities and families to benefit from them. But right now, how it's set now, it would go to the general fund. But really it's about disincentivizing these corporations because hopefully they'll get this conversation and they'll say, okay, maybe if we just pay our worker just a little, if we, for example, if McDonald's paid their average workers $50,000 a year and their CEO made $5 million a year, then they wouldn't be taxed under this. They wouldn't see any increase in excise tax of 0.1%. So hopefully it'll disincentivize that. All we're saying is to close that gap a little bit. So again, $50,000, which is still not enough for some of my constituents in Nashville. If a McDonald's worker gets that and their CEO just brings their salary down to $5 million, which is still exorbitant, and they can definitely survive off that, then they would not be taxed in addition by the 0.1%.
Representative Parkinson, you got one more?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate, where you're going with this. And, my concern is, given the history, of this body, that money going into the general fund, naked, basically, is going to be used to empower more rich folks. And so like such as tax rebate or somehow gone back into those same companies as some sort of some type of corporate welfare, to help them to do other things at their business. I'm gonna vote for your bill, but that is my concern. If we don't direct this money now, under this legislation, I don't know if you have time to amend it to direct it, but it's going to go right back to them same folks that we're taxing. That's my concern about it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Can I respond?
It's you're recognized.
I mean, thank you for those concerns. I'm hopeful that the members of this committee, the members of our body, would look at the things that we are not being able to fund right now. Things like moving some schools out of floodplains in places where the member of this committee, his district was flooded. Looking at how can we support farmers in East Tennessee who are still struggling from industrial waste from the hurricane and flooding. Hopefully, our body here would have the compassion and integrity to say we know that there's so many things we could use this money for, and we would direct it toward that. And I'm hopeful that members who I've spoken to, particularly as I serve on agriculture committee, see that there's big needs in this state. And we just don't have the money in our budget right now, we're told. And so maybe we could work together and direct some of these funds. This is just a beginning conversation to increase by millions of dollars. And there's so many conversations where I hear people saying, if we had the money, we would do this. We'd fix our crumbling infrastructure. If we had the money, we would make sure that, our public school teachers were paid, for the work that they do. If we only had the money, we would repair some of these schools. And so hopefully we would come together and work for the benefit of Tennesseans, because this bill is not about left or right. It's about what is moral, right, and wrong. And so hopefully we can work together, conservative and Democrat and progressive, because even talking to Republicans, people are tired of having to pay and subsidize social safety net programs and government assistance programs. You hear that all the time. Well, this bill seeks to move us away from that direction and work toward together. People are tired of the corporate welfare. They're tired of these corporations getting money when they don't need it. And yet we're subsidizing them. We're giving them more money, even though average workers pay more in taxes than some of these CEOs. It's wrong. It's unjust. It's immoral. It's the reason why Dr. King came to Tennessee in 1968 and was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, fighting against wealth inequality, calling for the Poor People's Campaign. And so we stand in that tradition of making this nation what it ought to be, making Tennessee lead in a good way with this legislation.
Representative Parkinson, last question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the sponsor, I appreciate your optimism. I truly do. I'm going to vote for your bill, but I just have this sneaking suspicion that this money collected in the general fund will go to something like vouchers or something, that will benefit the same people that we're taxing on it. I appreciate it though, but I'm supporting your bill. Thank you.
Members, I think now's the time for previous question. All right. Seeing no more questions, we're ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, if you would, please set up the board. And you all know what to do. Every member voted? Any member wish to change a vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 4 ayes and 8 noes.
All right, thank you for that. And moves out to Finance, Ways and Means. What, with a negative recommendation? Next item on our list is House Bill 219 by Chairman Reedy. Do we have a motion? We have motion to second. Chairman, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. As amended, it requires foreign persons, businesses, and government who report agriculture land investments to the United States Department of Agriculture under the Agriculture Foreign Investment Disclosure Act, which was started in 1979, to also file a copy with the Commissioner of the Department of Agriculture, and it directs the Commissioner to notify the Attorney General of noncompliance. Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you for that explanation. Members, do we have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, just 1 second, please. Chairman Reedy, my apologies. It has been brought to my attention that House Amendment 1 may not be traveling with the bill, so we will need to adopt that. I'm sorry, bear with me 1 second. Let's double check that. My mistake, Chairman Reedy. It is on the bill. All right, members, any questions? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, would you set the board for us, please? Members, please vote. All right, has every member voted? Anybody wishing to change a vote? Seeing none. All right, Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 10 ayes and 1 no.
All right, thank you for that. Next stop, Chairman Reedy, is calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I believe that has taken care of our calendar except for my bills. So I'm going to hand the gavel off to Chairman Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. It's item 3, House Bill 1330. We've got a motion and a second. Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, sir. Short explanation. This is a bill brought to us to clean some things up. It is sorry, still shuffling papers here. It's the Less is More Act, trying to streamline some things, make it a little bit easier for our administrators to do business in the state of Tennessee. With that, I'll be willing to take any questions.
Any questions for the chairman? Chairman Clements, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've received a lot of concerns about the impact this will have on court reporters in the state of Tennessee. Can you speak to that?
Give me just one moment. Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, could we go out of session and let the department handle that, please?
We are out of session. If we could have our guests to come forward to speak to the point of the court reporters, please. And please recognize yourself to the committee, and then we'll go to Chairman Clements.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman and committee, for having me. David Solon, Legislative Liaison for the Governor's Office.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us today. Chairman Clements, you want to ask your question, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm concerned about why we are including the court reporters in this. Court reporters, as you know, we rely on them heavily for the integrity of evidence in court proceedings and other matters across the state of Tennessee. Why would we be including them in this?
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. What we're doing with this bill is removing the Board of Court Reporters and putting it to be a commissioner-run program. We're not touching the license at all. They'll still be licensed. The same attorneys that review the complaints for the board will still make the same recommendations to the commissioner. It's just a matter of them, quite honestly, not receiving a whole lot of complaints over the past number of years. We're talking 13 last year, which was an abnormally high year. The year before that, it was 2. We're trying to save some money here, get rid of the per diem and travel expenses that we're paying to the board and move it to being a commissioner-run program. But this is not changing the license at all.
Chairman Clemens?
So the whole purpose for this is the per diem, to cut the per diem of these meetings. I mean, there seems to be a lot of court reporters who are really concerned about this. Can you just for the record say exactly what this is doing? Now, you say it's shifting it to the commissioner. The commissioner has a wide ranging job overseeing a lot of different things. Does the commissioner want this in their office, specifically overseeing this and handling these complaints personally, as opposed to people who are licensed and knowledgeable about this area? Because I don't know that the commissioner or many commissioners quite understand the court reporting profession, the type of things involved and the type of licensure and skills that are necessary to conduct this business. So my question is the commissioner or any future commissioner competent to handle this, and do they want to?
Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the question. Commissioner Lawrence would like this responsibility. This is, again, the same staff that are reviewing the cases for the board themselves, making the same recommendations. And if any future commissioners or Commissioner Lawrence feels that they don't have a full understanding of it, they're still able to ask the same experts that the board does as well.
Chairman Clemens, follow up?
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions? Representative Hardaway, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. So it's my understanding that the commissioner will essentially take over the job of the board.
Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the question. That's correct. They would decide complaints.
Okay. But the real world experience of the board, the commissioner can't bring that to the table, can he?
Mr. Sullivan?
Can the commissioner, him or her, in the future?
It would depend on the future commissioner's background, certainly, but it still would be, again, the same attorneys that are working with the board now underneath the department that would be helping make recommendations and reviewing the cases. I think it's important to note that right around 80% of the cases and complaints have been against a court reporter that may be working without a license. That's a pretty cut and dry complaint. Do they have a license? Were they doing the job? Yes or no? So that's the vast majority of the complaints that they're seeing here.
Follow up, Representative Hardaway?
Yes, sir. And those simple, clear-cut cases are all well and fine, but the purpose of these boards and commissions are to have the opportunity for those cases where there are nuances that can only be fully understood if you're in the profession and have some experience with these different scenarios. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to oppose your bill. I think we're getting less for our money, even though we're reducing that per diem cost. I think overall we're not being fair to those who are governed by this regulatory service. So, and it is a service. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Any further questions for our guest? Seeing none, we'll go back into session. Thank you, sir. Any further questions for the sponsor of the bill? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Clerk, please open the board. Have all members voted? Anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 9 ayes and 2 noes.
Thank you for that. With that, it moves out to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Next item on our calendar is going to item number 9, House Bill 243 by Chairman Lafferty. We've got a motion and a second. Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. This bill will extend the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services until June 30th of 2029. And with that, I move passage.
Thank you, Chairman Lafferty. I appreciate the work that these folks do for us. Any questions for the chairman on the bill? It is a sunset bill. Questions being called on the bill. Clerk, please open the board, please. Members, take your votes. Anybody like to change their votes? Seeing none, clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 10 ayes and 0 noes.
Thank you. It moves out to calendar and rules. Next item on the calendar, item number 10, House Bill 241. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill extends the Department of Economic and Community Development to June 30th of 2029. And with that, I move passage.
Any questions, comments for the chairman? Chairman Clemens, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we go out of session? I see that we have some folks from ECD here. Can we go out of session and hear from them? Ask them a
Absolutely.
question?
We are out of session. Commissioner, if you want to come forward, and if you have a guest with you, them as well, and introduce yourselves to the committee, please.
Good morning. Stuart McWhorter, Commissioner of Economic and Community Development for the state of Tennessee.
Thank you, Commissioner McWhorter. Chairman Clemens, questions for the commissioner?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Not every commissioner comes to these hearings, so we appreciate it. I just wanted to ask you about 2 issues. One is, can you speak to or give us an update on any funds that have been called back from any companies that have failed to live up to their promises for the purpose of tax incentives to relocate to Tennessee or build out warehouses? Has the state had any luck in clawing back any of those things and holding those companies accountable?
Commissioner?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. As many of you know, we have accountability agreements that we have all of our companies that receive grants from the state that's provided through our department and approved by the state funding board. We do have them sign accountability agreements. And what that essentially is saying is they're predicting that over a course of a period of time that's negotiated, they will deliver new net jobs based on the grant that was provided. And unfortunately, in some cases, companies don't hit those numbers, and we do enforce those clawback provisions, and we do collect on those. In every case, we've had a few challenge that, but in most cases, the contract is what it is, and we execute on that. It's not something that we enjoy to do, but it's an agreement that is between the state and those companies, and we want them to be successful, but in some cases they're not, and we do claw that back. We've had some over the last year. Well, it's been going on for quite some time, but I would say just activity over the last year in particular, just because of some of the economic headwinds and some of the other issues that are existing out there, has forced those conversations.
Chairman Clemens?
Yeah, thank you for addressing that. And I do hope that if we're relying on them and these companies are acting in good faith to comply with those, that we're holding them their feet to the fire, and certainly for the interest of our taxpayers. And, we're in budget's getting pretty tight and heading in a bad direction. So I hope that we're getting every dollar we can and making sure we're fiscally responsible in that regard. Next issue is I'd love to have you speak to the value and the incredible value of Launch Tennessee. you know, we talk about public-private partnerships a lot up here, and they seem to be in favor in this administration and this body. Launch Tennessee does incredible work, incredible return on the investment. You know, just the SBIR program alone, $895 million. You know, it fosters entrepreneurship, technology investment, workforce development. Just recently down in South by Southwest, I got a lot of great marketing for the state of Tennessee, our business community entrepreneurs. So if you could just speak to the incredible value of Launch Tennessee and this administration's support for it, I'd appreciate it.
Commissioner?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, again, the relationship between our department and Launch Tennessee goes back about 15 years, I believe. Their focus has been to support the entrepreneurial network and the ecosystem in our state, which I come from, and I respect the work that they do and has been increasingly growing in our state, you know, for many decades, particularly over the last several years. Lindsay Cox is here. If okay with you and the committee, I'd like to ask her to come up. She could probably answer some of those questions as well. If you're asking my opinion, I think, of course, it's a great partnership we have and have had for quite some time. You know, we spend as a department a lot of our energy on the big business development projects and, of course, a lot of rural and community development. Entrepreneurship takes a little bit more of a grassroots, hands-on approach to the work that happens in our state, and Launch Tennessee provides, you know, that value to not only our department, but certainly the state of Tennessee.
Chairman Clemens, we don't have her on the list, but we can talk. Give me a moment. On item number 12, we've got Lindsay Cox on there. So if at that time, when we get to that piece of legislation, we could have her come forward and have this discussion. Chairman Clemens.
No, I don't need to hear from her right now. I just wanted to hear this administration and, you know, make sure that we're all on the same page and have a full-throated endorsement of Launch Tennessee and fully support the program and recognize the great return on investment that it provides to the state of Tennessee and our entrepreneurial community. So thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it. And I mean, if you want to correct me in any way, please do. But thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Chairman. Next, Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, thank you for your time today. Just a quick question. It may be something I've overlooked in what I've already seen, but just a general ROI from what the taxpayers have invested in attracting industry and what our net return has been. Commissioner?
Thank you for the question. You know, I think we've had a lot of success as a state, thanks to, you know, the programs that I think we've had at least for, you know, a decade and a half. I think the accountability agreements that Representative Clemens, Chairman Clemens mentioned is something that, you know, we're very proud of too, because you know, we're investing state dollars and taxpayer dollars in net new jobs, high quality paying jobs, by the way. And I think we've had just a lot of success over the years. And we do track the investments that are made with not only the new jobs that are provided by these companies, but certainly the capital investment that these companies have provided over a number of years. Since Governor Lee's been in office, we've had well over 600 projects announced, just over 100,000 net new jobs, and over $40 billion of capital investment that's either hasn't been invested or in the process scheduled to be invested in our state. So we're very proud of that. I think the numbers speak for themselves, and, you know, we're very keen on making sure too that the companies and the brands that come to our state are interconnected in a way. There's so many, you've got OEMs and you've got supply chain, and, you know, we want it to make sense. You know, interestingly, a lot of states that border us have had a lot of success too, and we see where these companies come in and out of. And we, just because I think we've been smart for many decades, but we're also very lucky in terms of our location, and we win because of the logistics and just where Tennessee truly is, and we have benefited from that greatly.
Follow up, Representative. Any further questions for the Commissioner, Representative Hardaway?
Thank you, Chairman. Good to see you, Commissioner.
Good to see you, sir.
We've talked about competition within the borders of the United States. Let's talk about how competitive we are, in particular with China and Russia on the other continents. At one time, our priority was Europe and Asia. That's where most of our offices were. Have we made any progress since Haggerty? He was open to trying to do more on the African continent.
Commissioner?
So we are, in the last 15 years, have developed what we call a foreign direct investment strategy. We do have representatives from our department in other countries such as Japan and South Korea. We have members in Italy, Germany, UK. And so we're well represented. We're looking to, find more opportunity where other countries have gained more interest in not only in Tennessee, but certainly in the United States. Haven't had anything happening in Africa formally. We have had some conversations with companies that do certain mining or whatever it may be, businesses that they may have in Africa, in other countries in Africa, but we haven't formalized any sort of formal relationship with any one country there.
Representative?
Thank you. And I would urge you to become more aggressive in that. What I've found with my relationships over there is there's a lot that they want to do, they being the individual nations, direct with the states here, as opposed to the overall foreign policy and foreign affairs, red tape and bureaucracy of the United States, the federal government. So, and the mining, you mentioned that there's some rare, some precious minerals that we must have, both for technology and for homeland security purposes, our military. And so I would urge you to become more aggressive. I can help, and some of our other Black Caucus members who have relationships over there. The advent of AI and the advent of automation and then quantum computers, all of that is making that a fertile continent for us to work with, and their mutual economic benefits that will result. And that mining,
yes,
that should be at the top of the list, if not in the top 3.
Commissioner, response?
Yeah, so we talk a lot with companies and our partners, and they're strategizing around how they're looking to gain access to minerals, rare minerals such as you've mentioned, where they've been dependent on other countries. Now they're looking at other allies where they can partner up. So we're going by sort of what those companies are telling us their strategic initiatives are, and looking to help them expand the best way we possibly can. And personally, I'd love to go help in Africa. I've got my two youngest daughters are Ethiopian, so I'd love to see that happen one day, sir.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I want to put a motion on the floor to go to Africa.
Do I have a second?
But I do want to urge you to pursue getting that field office in some part of the continent, so that we can start to develop a foothold and be competitive with China and Russia. China is it's outrageous at how aggressive they are, and the footprint that they have, or the spider web that they have, because they're sticking it to the indigenous people. And we can and should be competitive on that continent. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Any further questions, comments for the commissioner? Seeing none, we'll go back into session. Are we ready to vote? Clerk, please open the board. Members, cast your vote. Anyone wish to change their vote? I was going to say Hardaway. There you go. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 12 ayes and 0 noes.
That moves out with positive recommendation to calendar and rules. Item number 11 on the calendar, House Bill 254. We've got a motion and a second. Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This act extends the Local Government Planning Advisory Committee until June 30th of 2026.
Any questions, comments for the chairman? Representative Hardaway, are you wanting to go out of session? He said, it's a call to the committee. Seeing none, are we ready to vote for the extension? Clerk, please open the board. Everyone cast your vote. Anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, clerk, announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 11 ayes and 0 noes.
It passes out to calendar and rules. The last item on our calendar, item number 12, House Bill 280. We've got a motion and a second. Chairman Lafferty, you are recognized on your bill. And if I understand it right, we've got an amendment we need to put on.
Yes,
the
sir.
bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amendment number 005153.
That is the correct tracking code. I get a motion and a second. And Chairman Lafferty, do we need to put that on at this time, or do you want to explain what the amendment does?
Yeah, if we could go ahead and put that on, that'd be great.
Okay. All in favor of putting House Bill Amendment 5153 on House Bill 280 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, nay? Amendments on. Chairman, you are recognized on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if we could, I would like to go out of session and have the department come forward, please.
We are out of session, and Commissioner McWhorter and Miss Lindsay, if she wants to join you as well, and then just recognize yourselves to the committee and for the record, please.
Stuart McWhorter, Commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development.
Thank you, sir.
And good morning. I'm Lindsay Cox, the CEO of Launch Tennessee.
Thank you for being with us, Chairman Lafferty. If you've got questions or.
Thank you, Chairman. And I would like to let the committee know the reason for my change in this. This started, I was at a few years ago, I was at a Launch Tennessee event here in Nashville. And by coincidence, met a young man, engineer grad from Georgia Tech, clearly not an unintelligent person. He had created something for which he was looking to build a company around. His story to me, he had run out of options in the private sector down in Georgia. He exhausted a couple of options in the public sector down there, I guess some government dollars that he was able to get his hands on. He was still at that point not successful. And I met him in Nashville. He was up here shopping his product around, trying to find some way to get his product financed. I don't know what happened to the young man. Don't know where he's gone on from there. But it was one of those moments that made me wonder, how much of an eye do we really have on this? I got to looking around the web pages. There are numerous directions that you can go from the websites. I'm curious about a lot of the inner workings of this program, and didn't feel like I had enough time, particularly with session going on, to get some of the questions answered and have some of the structure looked at in a detailed way that I was hoping to do. Committee, that is the gist of why I've asked to bring this down to 1 year. Would you like to, now that I've mentioned all of that, would you like to please, Lindsay, tell us what it is that you guys do and a little bit about the organization?
Lindsay, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm certainly happy to speak to the organization. I did prepare a written statement today, so I'm going to reference that. But yeah, so just to introduce you to Launch Tennessee, we do appreciate the opportunity to come in and address this committee. Chairman Lafferty, very excited to work with your office to resolve any questions you may have. In light of Governor Lee's remarks with his recent gubernatorial address, and the theme attached to it around Tennessee Innovates, I think that puts a light on what we do at Launch Tennessee. And so, again, just thrilled to have an opportunity to discuss that work. As Tennessee's hub for startups and innovation, Launch Tennessee is committed to empowering innovators across the state by providing capital, commercialization, and connections. We refer to those as our 3 Cs. You'll kind of see them throughout our website and web pages as you poke around with the various activities we do. We were founded over 20 years ago, originally as the Tennessee Technology Development Corporation, and we were reorganized in 2012 as part of then Governor Haslam's Jobs for Tennessee initiative. And we do serve as a crucial public-private partnership, acting as a companion organization to the Department of Economic and Community Development. The public-private partnership structure allows us to leverage that private sector collaboration and operate with speed, scale, and efficiency necessary to support early-stage technology companies, mirroring successful models in peer states, including the Kentucky Science and Technology Corporation, Innovate Alabama, and Georgia Research Alliance. Launch Tennessee's mission is vital for Tennessee's continued economic growth and future relevance. Our work supports the state's key business sectors, fosters innovation, and does drive job creation. We do operate with transparency and accountability, ensuring that all programs are merit-based and impactful, and we do share this information publicly and directly to the General Assembly through our annual report, which you all should have received just before November 1st, which is our deadline every year. Our statewide network of 8 regional entrepreneur centers is part of what makes Launch Tennessee unique, and it comprises that infrastructure that helps Tennessee entrepreneurs thrive. We provide catalytic support to the centers, which act as that front door for startup and technology entrepreneurs, providing startup support in their region, creating a pipeline of companies from across the state, and leveraging local philanthropic support. Additionally, Launch Tennessee's network of industry-specific partners allow for support of scalable companies in industries vital to Tennessee, including advanced energy, life sciences, ag tech, mobility, and financial technologies. Another thing that makes Launch Tennessee unique and invaluable is our ability to invest into Tennessee-located startups. Launch Tennessee currently has a portfolio of more than 70 companies spread across 3 funds. Our most recent fund that we are currently administrating is InvestTN. It dedicates $70 million to early stage startups here in Tennessee and is wholly funded through the U.S. Treasury's State Small Business Credit Initiative. So note, I did say U.S. Treasury, not Tennessee taxpayer, but through a U.S. Treasury program. And InvestTN is more than just a funding mechanism. It is a catalyst for long-term entrepreneurial success in Tennessee. This catalytic equity investment program leverages federal funds to attract private investment to Tennessee startups. It does require a minimum 1-to-1 private capital match, and our deals have averaged 8-to-1 in their leverage ratio, demonstrating their effectiveness in stimulating private investment. To get the best and brightest companies across Tennessee and across industries, we utilize our statewide network of entrepreneur centers and industry partners who know the entrepreneurs in their area well and who help create the InvestTN pipeline of companies. As of today, we have invested in 36 companies through this most recent fund. Another critical service Launch Tennessee provides to early stage technology companies is support navigating the federal Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer programs. Those are referred to as SBIR and STTR. We offer essential grant writing services, recently reauthorized for 5 years and funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration to help these companies secure competitive federal awards. Additionally, we do administer the SBIR STTR Matching Fund Program, a program that mirrors successful initiatives in peer states, including Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, both Carolinas, and West Virginia, demonstrating its widespread value in fostering innovation. It is important to emphasize that awards through our matching fund are only considered following federal funding being awarded after a competitive merit review process, which evaluates the commercial potential, intellectual merit, and societal impact of the proposed technology, or through a contracting process with the Department of Defense, specifically to support the American warfighter. This ensures that public funds are directed to high potential projects that directly benefit both our state and nation. The federal SBIR STTR programs primarily focus on the research and development component, leaving a critical gap in funding for essential business functions such as IP protection and business development. Our matching funds are designed to bridge this gap, enabling companies to advance their technology, effectively commercialize their products, and scale to achieve sustainable revenue. Notably, 60% of our 128 companies that have received Launch TN matching funds have reached a post-revenue milestone, which is demonstrating that these companies are having business impact. According to data recently reported in the Tennessean, Tennessee's economy remains strong despite national slowdowns in growth and labor participation. Tennessee businesses are not only launching but sustaining with a 31.8% increase in business license renewals in the fourth quarter of 2024 compared to 2023. Launch Tennessee plays a direct and vital role in this economic strength, driving innovation and ensuring the state's continued growth. Tennessee has earned a reputation as the best place to do business, a state where innovation thrives and startups receive the support they need to succeed. And Launch Tennessee plays a pivotal role in solidifying this reputation by driving innovation and advancing technology-based economic development. Without Launch Tennessee, startup growth would stall, technological progress would slow, job creation would suffer, and Tennessee would risk falling behind its peer states in the competitive landscape of technology-abled economic growth. We are committed, have demonstrated, and look forward to our continued work with the governor, TNECD, and the General Assembly to ensure Tennessee remains a leader in innovation and economic growth. I did leave off a couple program highlights that do include, we also serve as a marketing engine around marketing the state as a great place for innovation. We do this through some events-based initiatives, and then we also have workforce-specific initiatives within our organization, specifically an intern program that places students in with startups across the state. We are working on this summer's coming program, which will see about 45 students placed within those startup companies.
Thank you for the information. Members, we are down to the wire. We've got about 6 minutes. We do have a couple members on the committee that would like to ask questions. Now we have 3. Chairman Lafferty, do you have anything, a response, or should I go to the list?
Why don't you go ahead and go to the list,
Thank
please?
you. Representative McKenzie, you're first on my list, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you know, this is, I guess I'm trying to get an understanding what we'll ask this maker of this bill. I think he's cutting it from down to 1 year. So I'm trying to understand the genesis of that. And the reason is, you know, as I'm proud East Tennessee, a lot of what's happening here is actually happening in that Hardin Valley corridor. As you look at the governor's initiative and where we've come in my short, you know, I would say 4.5 years here, we become the nation's really brain trust for this emerging nuclear energy process. And it's not just at the big plants. It's happening, you know, Hardin Valley, it's happening in Oak Ridge corridors. And it's because of programs that started out as small businesses, as a gleam in someone's eye. And the way to get from there to a successful, then a thriving business is with the help of places like Launch Tennessee. So I'm really hoping that we're not going to do anything but improve this program, because these incubators are working. And I'm sure they're going to work in and around technology around Blue Oval. But I'm specifically familiar with what's going on in the chairman's district, because I drive through it for 34 years and we saw how it's grown into what it is today. So I guess I'm trying to understand, is there anything so to the to you presenters, would you change anything that you've done over the last, say, 5 to 10 years? Or is one question, and then are we better or worse than any other southern state as it relates to our business growth and incubation, and especially from a technology standpoint?
Ms. Cox, you want to respond to that question?
Sure. I can tell you our model is quite the envy of many other states. We've been operating in this current form of Launch Tennessee again since 2012, really doing these vital initiatives of creating this entrepreneurial infrastructure with the collaboration between our regional entrepreneur centers and industry-specific partners. Other states are now trying to catch up to that model by infusing large amounts of capital to develop a similar structure. The number one question I get when I speak to folks in other states is, how do we get our regions to get along so well, and how do we all work together and collaborate in such an effective manner? And so I think that kind of speaks to the proof of the model. Additionally, we are incredibly proud to be able to offer the SBIR STTR matching fund program. I did speak to, that does not duplicate federal funds. It provides dollars for business support, business growth to help anchor companies in Tennessee. I'll speak to East Tennessee briefly. The Innovation Crossroads program, which is a collaboration with Oak Ridge National Lab. We work with many of those companies through this SBIR, STTR, both grant writing support side, so to help them secure the federal awards, and then from the matching side to help anchor them in Tennessee. And with our investment program, our latest fund, InvestTN, I'm incredibly proud of how we're administering that program. We do have a chief investment officer with 10 years of venture capital experience and a team of associates who are reviewing all of those investment opportunities to ensure that we are investing in great companies. And again, we can leverage that core infrastructure that we've built over the last, 13 years to ensure we're seeing deals from all across Tennessee. And so to summarize, no, there's not a lot I would change right now, although, we of course always seize on opportunities to improve, if something is not effective.
Representative Fritz, I've got you next on the list, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming today. I'll try to be really brief since we're short on time. It's primarily regarding our State Energy Policy Council and some of the actions that we have going. Consider that we have crude oil refining in West Tennessee, natural gas in Middle Tennessee, hydro throughout the state, and then, of course, nuclear in the Oak Ridge area. And in light of President Trump's recent executive order for the energy emergency and definition of what the fuel sources are for such, what would you consider your priorities for those growth in crude oil, natural gas, hydro, nuclear, and keeping in mind the debt limit structures that TVA is operating under now? What would you consider your priorities?
Commissioner, would you like to respond to that?
I can, sure. Thanks. A great question. So I had the opportunity to be with Secretary of Energy a few weeks ago at the Clinch River site and Oak Ridge and TVA. Senator Haggerty was there and Congressman Fleischman. It was a great time just to listen to what their priorities are in Washington and really what the governor has done and what you all have supported the governor with nuclear energy and the investments we're making in the supply chain is unique. And now I know nuclear is just a component of that, but because we have Oak Ridge here in our backyard, I think there's a lot of value with that, and we've made some significant progress in that regard. I think TVA is a great opportunity for the president and the current administration to do something bold. I think, you mentioned the debt limit. I think that's the limiting factor with TVA right now. You're looking at what other energy providers are doing across the country. And I think right now, if we don't do something, we meaning TVA in this case, to look to increasing that debt limit or finding other sources of capital to invest in the energy infrastructure, that it's going to hurt lots of things, including economic development in our state. And I would say from a innovation perspective, I think we as a state have a real opportunity to allow the innovators and the creators and the really smart, bright companies that are coming to the Tennessee from literally all over the world to be part of that ecosystem. I think we've got a unique opportunity there.
Representative Fritz, we're down to 1 minute. Do we need to roll this till next week or can we just finish up quickly? All right, Representative Hardaway, real quick.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll go with my quick line, and that is how convenient it is and beneficial it is for Tennessee to have a former ECD commissioner serving as a U.S. senator. So that gives us all kind of power and opportunities. And at some point, I'd like to talk to you about how the AI revolution is providing opportunities for entrepreneurs, not just these corporations bringing in jobs, but entrepreneurship. And Granville T. Woods Innovation Academy, which is a charter school in Memphis, is waiting for you to visit so they can tell you about the models they've developed, which are also available for commercial use. And it's education models. Thank you, Chairman.
There we go. Thank you for your questions, your concerns, and members. Of course, this is rolling it to 2026, so these folks will be back in front of us. And Commissioner, any response at all? Or are we ready to go back in session? Okay, Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you speak to what difficulties it may present only being sunsetted for 1 year versus the normal time limit that we do? What type of challenges will that present to the organization?
It does present some operational challenges. We are in the process of signing a new lease on an office, which we had negotiated down from a 5-year lease to a 3-year lease. I think it also can send a message to a very committed team that, you know, there may be concerns about the value of our work or the perception of our work. And we, of course, want to keep our staff firing on all cylinders. And, you know, again, we see Launch Tennessee's funding both for our partners and startups as catalytic in nature and as funding that helps attract additional dollars in. So we are not solely funded by the state, nor are the partners that we fund. And so we just want to ensure we're not giving any signals to anyone that may be perceived negatively about the organization.
Chairman Clemens.
Yeah, thank you. I can only imagine the unpredictability this would create for this organization that's doing such great work and trying to plan out into the future as technology continues to evolve and we continue with this commissioner's leadership to attract new businesses and investment in the state of Tennessee. And I gave the commissioner the opportunity to correct me. I mean, this administration has given its full-throated support to this organization. Commissioner agreed with me or didn't correct me, and here we are trying to limit this organization to a 1-year sunset. It doesn't really follow. I don't always agree with this administration. I don't think it's any secret, but to the extent we're all on board with attracting new businesses, looking for ROI in any way possible, and increasing technological advances in the state of Tennessee, and empowering small businesses and encouraging entrepreneurship, it seems to me foolhardy to only do this for 1 year. So I have a real problem with this amendment. And I'd like to see us treat this organization with the respect it deserves to be treated and extend it for the longer period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any further questions, comments for our guests? Seeing none, we'll go back into session. Any questions, comments for the chairman? Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the chairman, as you laid out your logic behind that, you said basically you didn't have time to dig in because you met a guy here in Nashville. After this conversation and after the potential damage that this could do to what I consider a really thriving organization at a pivotal time, we've just invested millions more. We've doubled down in East Tennessee specifically. I guess I'm asking, why would we carry this piece of legislation that could potentially do damage at a high level, but interrupt services at the coffee pots, and we're not out there doing our work at a much lower level? So why would we consider passing this bill at this particular juncture?
Chairman Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose for shortening the time period in this instance is to get the ball rolling. We may or may not have the same ECD director in another year or two. We've already got the books open on this. Everybody's got eyes on it. We are taking a look at it now, and that's my reasoning.
Any further questions, comments? Seeing none. Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Chairman. This isn't the only way to get the department back before us, though. So I'll just put that on the chairman's mind. It seems to me there's real danger here. And then they were very kind and reserved in how they presented it. There's danger here that some of the opportunities, economic opportunities, could be impaired because we don't know if the department will be around. To be quite blunt with you, we're sunsetting and we're putting the short term out there. If I'm doing business with Tennessee, and I don't know if this department that's telling me all the wonderful things and the regulations is actually going to exist, that would give me hesitancy. I think it's no secret that the one thing the corporations want is consistency, and they want to be certain of, as much as possible about things going forward. So I would ask the chairman to reconsider the offering the amendment, and that we move forward with a more adequate timeframe. Thank
Chairman
you.
Lafferty, any follow-up?
No, sir.
Any further questions, comments? Seeing none. Ready to take the vote? Clerk, open the board for the vote, please. Would anyone like to change their vote?
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 6 ayes and 3 noes.
Bill moves out to calendar and rules.
Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you once again for being with us. Chairman, I'm going to give the gavel back to you.
Motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.